Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopijana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachai Yamuna Tira Vanachai Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Rama Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. All glories to Radha Govardhandari. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 17. We're doing a few verses today, so 23 to 27. So we'll do the Sanskrit from 23, then we'll just move forward with the English from there, then the translation on the final. Finish with the translation of number 27. So text 23. This chapter is entitled The Victory of Hiranyakasha. Savatiro hitan drisva. Savatiro hitan drisva. Mahasa svena daityarat. Mahasa svena daityarat. Sandrandiva ganan seban. Sandrandiva ganan seban. Apashyan yanna dadbrisam. Apashyan yanna dadbrisam. Prabhus. Savatiro hitan vrisva. Mahasa svena dacharat. Yanyana Dadbrisam. Much G's. All good? Savatara hitandrisva Mahasasvena Daityarat. So word for word. Sa, he, vai, indeed. Tirahitan, vanished. Drisva, having seen. Mahasa, by might. Svena, his own. Daityarat, the chief of the Daityas. Demons. Saidran, along with Indra. Devaganan, the demigods. Sivan, intoxicated. Apashyan, not finding. Yanadat, roared. Brisham, loudly. Translation. On not finding Indra and the other demigods who were previously been intoxicated with power, the chief of the Daityas, seeing that they had all vanished before his might, roared loudly. Text 24, translation. After returning from the heavenly kingdom, the mighty demon, who was like an elephant in wrath, for the sake of sport, dived into the deep ocean, which was roaring terribly. Text 25. On his entering the ocean, the aquatic animals who formed the host of the Varuna were stricken with fear and ran far away. Thus, Hiranyakasha showed his splendor without dealing a blow. Purport. Materialistic demons sometimes appear to be very powerful and are seen to establish their supremacy throughout the world. Here also, it appears that Hiranyakasha, by the demonic strength, is actually established his supremacy throughout the universe. And the demigods were afraid of his uncommon power. Not only were the demigods in space afraid of the demons Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakasha, but also were the aquatic animals within the sea. Text 26. Moving about the ocean for many, many years, the mighty Hiranyakasha smote the gigantic wind-tossed waves again and again with his iron mace and reached Vibhavari, the capital of the Varuna. Purport. Varuna is supposed to be the predominating deity of the waters, and in his capital, which is known as Vibhavari, is within the watery kingdom. 27, so this is the final one. Vibhavari is the home of Varuna, lord of the aquatic creatures and the guardian of the lower regions of the universe, where the demons generally reside. There Hiranyakasha fell at Varuna's feet like a low-born man, and to make fun of him, he said with a smile, "Give me a battle, O Supreme Lord." Purport. The demonic person always challenges others and tries to occupy others' property by force. Here these symptoms are fully displayed by Hiranyakasha, who begged war from a person who had no desire to fight. Srila Prabhupada ki. to ask for the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, and all the devotees in this room, that I can see something of value today. So lately in the Bhagavatam we've been hearing about the demonic brothers, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakash. We hear a lot about Hiranyakashipu. We sing about Hiranyakashipu every morning. But here we see his brother also tormenting. And this is the nature of the demonic, always tormenting others, always making it difficult for others. And I was meditating on these few verses and how we can relate these few verses in today's world. So we see demonic tendencies are all around us within this material world. And sometimes we have a tendency to take the spiritual life, to take the Krishna consciousness, and we think we're safe now, we've made it. We've surrendered onto Krishna and no problems are going to come my way. I can live a chilled life now, a problem-free life now, no drama, everything is cherry ripe. And we think this chanting, this dancing, this feasting, this is all ecstatic, this is all joyful. But through this process of bhakti yoga, we're stirring the pond and the muck is coming to the surface. And Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of Maya, the illusionary energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner with various allurements. So when one declares war on the illusionary energy, when one declares war on Maya, Maya is going to come at that person and try to lure them back into the material energy. I'm sure some people have experienced that. So we can never let our guards down when we take to Krishna consciousness, no matter where we are on the spiritual path. We should always be taking our Krishna consciousness very seriously, because there's so many demonic tendencies within this material world, whether it's coming from our own minds. Like half the time it's hard enough battling our own minds, what to speak of the people around us, causing us problems, making our lives difficult, then what to speak of nature. So many problems that nature gives us. Floods, fires, tsunamis, tornadoes. We don't get so much here, but overseas they have to deal with so much. Here we get the odd flood at New Govardhan. So we should always be given 110% in spiritual life to stay free from these demonic tendencies. We should never take the foot off the accelerator. Sometimes you may hear, but Padma Ajamil, he just chanted Narayan at the end of his life, and whoosh, he got liberated back to the spiritual kingdom. But we should not try to follow in those footsteps. The holy name is all powerful and Krishna is all powerful. That's a fact. But this process of Krishna consciousness, we follow the previous acharyas, and the previous acharyas such as His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gokashodas Babaji, all these who have walked before us were such amazing devotees, and they followed the process of Krishna consciousness. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they're manjaris from the spiritual world. They still chanted their rounds. They still read the Bhagavad Gita. They still took to association. So we should never feel as though that I'm in a position now, I'm higher than these alluring energies within the material world, that now I can do that what I want to do. It doesn't matter who you take birth from. It doesn't matter what position you're in. We should be following the previous acharyas, and by following the previous acharyas through chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, reading the scriptures, getting devotee association, we stay strong in our spiritual life and we stay free from the demonic tendencies which are always around us and trying to capture us and pull us back into the deep ocean. So, it's very difficult to overcome, but if we follow the process correctly, we can achieve what we set out to achieve. I was talking this morning, all great stories are like that, right? The hero's journey, light conquering darkness. I'm sure we have some Star Wars fans in the room. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. You'll see most Hollywood movies are built around this, that there's a dark force, that these demonic tendencies are trying to pull certain personalities into this darkness. So you have on Star Wars, you've got Luke Skywalker. They're out there trying to save people from the dark forces, and you've got Darth Vader with the demonic tendencies trying to lure Luke back in. Then we've got Harry Potter, Lord Voldemort, trying to lure Harry onto his side, into the darkness. Then you've got Lord of the Rings, the actual ring. So we've always dealing with that, no matter where we are. It's pictured so much in Hollywood that when one stands for a good cause, when one tries to walk towards a light, that there's going to be lots of demonic tendencies that try to pull them down. So we should always be conscious of that. We should always be aware of that. We should always be on our toes and never dropping our guard. And that segues into the next topic, which is faulty association. So once again, if we want to stay away from these demonic tendencies, whether it's our own mind, other people, or nature around us, it is best to put ourselves in the best possible association we can. And we're so fortunate here at New Govardhan that we've got so much amazing association. Rich Painter, he says that if you look at the 5 closest people to you, you show me your 5 closest people and I'll show you your future. So association, so important. And also within this world, there's so many scientists and philosophers and industrialists who have completely thrown the concept of God in the bin. And when one takes the spiritual life, when they trip, they may fall, they may succumb to the material energy, these kind of concepts can become more and more appealing. So we've got to be very mindful, very alert. Then we've got the huge battle zone where demonic tendencies reside, which is lust, greed, and anger. So it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.8.17, lust desires are very strong in everyone and are the greatest impediment to the discharge of devotional service. So it can be a huge struggle dealing with lust. But once again, if we're following the process of Krishna consciousness, if we're doing everything we possibly can, we will rise above lust, greed, and anger. And once again, like I've noticed, like I've read in the first few pages here, that it all comes down to association and following the process correctly of Krishna consciousness. We're never above what the previous acharyas have done, no matter our birth, no matter what we're up to, the people we hang around, always staying safe. So, how do we do this? We just stick to the process. Prabhupada's laid down the perfect process for us to follow. And day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, we slowly but gradually make advancement in our Krishna consciousness. We become stronger, we become more determined, which puts us in a very positive position to deal with the demonic tendencies that we deal with within the world today. So grabbing inspiration from the Bhagavatam and using that today to fight these demonic tendencies. So in the, first of all, before I go into Varaha, it's very important in Krishna consciousness to get inspired. If you're not inspired in spiritual life, if you're not inspired in life, it's very hard to get out of bed and to do the common thing. You know, we've got our David Goggins, you know, big marathon runner, inspirational guy, very inspired in his certain field. Then you've got like your Alex Hormozis, who's out there doing business. Very inspired, very driven. So no matter what field we take to in life, it's so important to be inspired. And how do you get inspired? You get inspired by spending time with the right people. If you want to be inspired within a certain subject, say right now, Krishna consciousness, you go and you mingle and you get close to those who are Krishna conscious. That inspires you. And by spending time, by associating with those who are Krishna consciousness, you're going to hear stories of inspiration. And I've got a story. I've told this before in a Bhagavatam class, and some have already heard it. It's about my grandma, but I've been told to tell this story again in this class for recording purposes. So this is a story of this is a story of my grandma, and she got very sick a couple years ago. She was 86 years old. And she got a phone call from a doctor, and they said to her, "You've got cancer." And we were like, wow, you got cancer? She had no problems her whole life, and all of a sudden, bang, you got cancer. And she was in the doctor's office, and they said to her, "You've got 3 months to live. That's it. 3 to 6 months. And she rang me, and she'd been coming to the temple a few times. And she called me up and she's like, "Hey Padma, I'm sick. I'm gonna leave my body soon. I'm gonna die. But I want to do what you would do if you were going to leave your body. I want to follow the process. I want to put myself in the best possible position. You live a beautiful life, so I'm coming to you for advice." And I went there and I took her a little Kirtan Prabhupada box. I think Vraja may sell them in the shop, those little yellow ones. I think maybe you're used to. So yeah, these little recording devices. They've got Prabhupada chanting. They've got the Hare Krishna mantra on there. And my grandma set that up in her room, and she was listening to that 24/7. That didn't go off. And she always wore a Nishingadev Pavatra. Is that what they're called? Sastra, the rope? Kavitra? No, not Kavat, the rope. Pavitra. Yeah, Pavitra. So she always had a Pavitra around her neck and always a little one around her hand. And I'd go there and I'd read the Bhagavad Gita to her, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I was sitting, it was an early morning temple session. I think I was sitting here and I thought, I had this urge to go and see my grandma, so I hopped in my car and I drove. It was 2 hours away. She just moved here like a year previously. So I went to her house and she was actually leaving her body. She was getting to the very last hours. So we were reading, we were chanting. There was doctors and nurses within her house. They were joining in. We had cartels going. I recited the Nishinga Kavacha for her. And she got very unwell towards the very end. And the doctors wanted to take her from her house and take her to a, what are they called? Hospice. And my mum had been very tired because she'd been up with my grandma all the night previously. So my mum was very tired and she needed to take rest. So my grandma got taken away in an ambulance to this hospice. And we had a container made up of, there was Radha Govardhandari's garland, Mother Ganga's water was there, Tulsi from the water here, some water from here also was taken. So we had a little box made up for her. And my mum couldn't go, but she gave it to the ambulance and said, look, this has to be done. If she leaves her body, this is a process. She was trying to explain it to these people. And so they took her over there, and the doctor who took on my grandma, he was actually a devotee. So he was a Brahmin initiate devotee from Brisbane, and he took on the care package that we made for her. And later that night, 2 a.m, my grandma left her body, and the doctor who was there, who was a Brahmin initiated ISKCON devotee, did all the process for her for when she left her body. And the story goes on, but these kind of stories can really inspire someone in spiritual life and show the potency of Krishna. Many devotees have doubts when they're on their path of their Krishna consciousness, but hearing stories like this can be very uplifting. And so my grandma's left, she's got the garland on, she's got the water in her mouth, a tulsi leaf in her mouth, and my mum calls a taxi, and she's like, I need to go to the hospice. And a taxi driver comes, and she's like, hey, I'm just going to see my grandma and my mum. You know, my son's a Hare Krishna. She wanted all that done. He's like, oh, my name's Arjuna. I'm from Vrindavan. So Arjuna from Vrindavan took my mum to see grandma after she had left her body. And it's just a very nice story. So grandma had left, and it was just a very sweet ending for my grandma. It just showed the potency of Krishna, Krishna's holy names. It was just very special. And shortly after that, it gets a bit more esoteric, but it's a really cool story. So 2 weeks later, my mum, when I was growing up, she was always into spiritual life. So when I was young, she was always going and spending time with monks, and I'd get really jealous, and she would show me photos, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. You know, I was always watching documentaries of St. Francis of Assisi and Padre Pio, like, I want to be like these guys. So I get really jealous. So my mum was always doing these like really adventurous, like spiritual activities. And she would always go to the Mind, Body, Spirit festivals. They're in like Sydney and Brisbane and all the main cities around Australia. So this is about 2 weeks after my grandma left, and she's walking up the corridor, and there's a man talking in the room, a big audience. And my mum's like, oh, what's going on in there? And my mum walks into the room, and this man's on stage, and he just points to my mum, and he goes, your mum's just left this world. And my mum's like, yeah? He got the name right also. My grandma's name was Faye. Because her name's Faye. She's here today. She wants to give you a message. She wants to thank your son for giving her what she got in those final few months of her life. And she said because of that, she's in a completely different spot to where she would have been. And she said a joke, and she was laughing and said that where she is now makes Earth look like the gutters of India. So that story gets a bit esoteric there, but once again, by sharing these stories within Krishna consciousness, especially when one's weak on faith or struggling within their spiritual life, you can really understand the potency of Krishna consciousness and how powerful the holy name is, or the process of Krishna consciousness is. It's such a mind-blowing process. So that's a story about my grandma and how Krishna consciousness touched her life. Someone who hadn't been involved in spiritual life her whole life, but towards the end of her life really got the mercy. And you'd see how all the puzzle came together there at the end of her life. It just showed the brilliance of Krishna. I just wanted to share that story because within this world there's so many difficulties, there's so many hardships and so many demonic tendencies that all around us, but by sharing these stories, one's faith can grow, one can become inspired, and one become motivated. So I might tell us Varaha, the fight with Varaha's next chapter. I was going to talk about that but I don't want to ruin the next verses. So we'll just go into questions now, if anyone's got any questions. Any corrections? Yeah.
How to take recreation and then just get back on track. Is there any tips to, just take a good amount of recreation?
Yeah. Like obviously it's good to have good balance in spiritual life, and like what would you do to be more relaxed, or to what kind of rec would you do?
The more sort of, I guess, seems more healthy is like swimming in the ocean, but I also read political blogs, which is not so healthy.
Yeah.
And it just kind of take over. Like I could spend all day at the beach or all day just reading stuff like that, because it's sort of, fun.
I think like when you do activities like this and one's serious about the spiritual path, they can go to the beach with other devotees, with their friends. And, while you're in that devotee association, it just makes all these other activities much more pleasant. And, with the stuff you're reading online, maybe that's just a passion of yours and you've got an interest in that. As long as it's not harmful to your spiritual life, it'd be nice to know other topics, for sure. Gain more knowledge. It's good to have knowledge of the material world. Yeah, it's good to understand the material world. That's it. Srila Prabhupada ki